Hello, everybody. This is the Mangai's at the Movies podcast. It's a super casual, chill thing. A couple of the boys on the Mangai project team, we've watched. We're starting a watch through of the Disney 2D animated catalog, just kind of as a way to catch up on the history of 2D animation, and because that's a very important element of the series that we're doing. So, this podcast is meant to educate and also just kind of be an opportunity to chill and kind of he listen to some opinions on animation and some other stuff like that. I'm Max Newey. I'm the executive producer and director of the Mangai project. I know I'm sure if you've seen the other videos on the channel, you've probably heard from me. And we've got a couple of people in here. Do you guys just want to shout out?
So I'm Luke the Sketcher, or just Luke. I'm a character artist and animator on the Mangai project. I also did storyboards for the Paraka animatic that you may have seen. And I have a degree in animation, and the fact that this is the first time I saw Snow White kind of flies in the face of that a little bit.
He's got a degree. He's big pants
Ooh,
over here.
I know. I guess I'll go next. I go by J Master or J. Morton is just usually a little, just the one syllable. It's very easy. Um, I unfortunately I only have a minor in fine arts, so I'm not quite to
Still
Luke's
valid.
level here. But I too have done some character page sheets, and I'm currently working on an animatic for one of the scenes for a flashback in the show. So that's you know,
So since
very
you have a
fun.
degree in fine arts, I've always been wondering, what's the difference between fine arts and dense arts?
Dense arts.
Yeah. I gotta listen. I'm trying here. I'm trying to hit us all with the dad jokes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, as a
I am
resident
qualified.
dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Basil, who are you?
I guess it's a me. I'm a pinch of Basil. Most people just call me Basil. Work as a video editor on the publicity team and a writer on the story team. I've always been a bit of a movie guy, and especially love animation. So obviously grew up with a fair bit of Disney stuff, alongside a whole lot of other things.
So are you an actual just like pinch of basil on the counter or something, or like
I
how
am.
does that work?
I'm just a fluttering piece of spice. I just have my name spelled wrong.
So that would that be your Spice Girls name? Just a fluttering piece of spice.
Damn straight.
Nice. All right, so we're gonna talk about the first 2D animated film in the Disney catalog today. A little film called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So, how much of the history of this film do you guys know off the cusp?
So I like frantically took a bunch of notes before and during my watch of it.
All right, so I
Um,
guess you're the guy to talk to. So
yeah,
go ahead and tell us about the
kind of, I
history.
guess. So, yeah, it was released in 1937 at the Carthy Circle Theater. It was very briefly the highest grossing film with sound at the time, and it made $8 million, and it had a $1.5 million budget. So, yeah, it made bank. Uh,
Now, what's that? What is that adjusted? I'm curious to.
I'm not sure.
I
I'll
think
go
it's like over
crunch the
three
numbers right
billion
now.
dollars. Like adjusted for inflation, it is like literally, if not one of the highest grossing films of all time. Like I'm pretty sure if you look up, highest grossing films adjusted for inflation, Snow White is at the top of the list. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, it was so some other stuff I wrote down. Walt Disney got success in the early '30s through the Mickey Mouse and Silly Symphony shorts, but he decided short films didn't bring sufficient profit for the studio's growth, and he wanted to expand storytelling possibilities with more complex plots and character development. Hey, Loomis just showed up.
Hey,
Good day, fellows.
hey, what's up? So Loomis is our we have two animation managers, and Loomis is our second. He just got promoted this week, boys. I gave him a raise. I gave him He's getting paid 5 times as much as he was before.
That's what I'm doing it for.
Wow, he gets $5 whole.
That ain't how the math works, Chief. I was zero before 5 times 0.
Yeah, we're to clarify, we're all willing volunteers.
Definitely.
Oh, I just want to point out on the inflation numbers. So about that box office, you said 8 million.
Yes.
So that might be a little bit off. I'm getting 418. You had the budget right, but it's saying 418 million. So whole lot of bank. But adjusted for inflation, the budget would have been 30 million, and the box office would have been 8 billion, $8.5 billion. So I'm trying to make sure that those numbers aren't from like re-releases. But
I think they might be from re-releases because I've got a number here that's like it's a list of the highest grossing blockbusters and stuff, and it says adjusted it's 2.2 billion. I mean, it's still a lot. It just puts it puts it just barely under Jurassic Park for like adjusted for inflation stuff.
It's worth pointing out that like Disney re-releases, especially like predating home media, could make some serious bank by just being very choice when they let it come out.
I am
just rolling the dough every few decades.
Forever. I am always proud whenever I go onto like the highest grossing adjusted stuff, and I always see Gone with the Wind on top. It still is the winner over Avatar. Like, get clapped on, Avatar. I'm a big fan of Gone with the Wind as a period piece. It's
yes, okay. So 8 million for like the very original run, which would be about 159 million today. So it's still a pretty decent ratio, but yeah, they really milked that for what it was worth of the over the decades since then.
So do you guys know where? I'm trying to remember my Defunct Land lore, but do you remember where Walt Disney came up with the idea for Snow White? I mean, like, obviously, there's the fairy tale, but the idea of making a full-length 2D animated film.
I cannot say I do.
Yeah, I think it was sort of what I just said. He just wanted to expand beyond short films, but there might be something more specific to that.
I was talking about it was on a train ride back to. I want to say it was back to California from St. Louis because there's like the whole world. It was like the fair for tomorrow or like the World's Fair or whatever. But he went and he saw a bunch of things that inspired him about the future and everything. And he was like, you know what? I think this dream that I've been kind of kicking around, I think I can really do it, guys. This is the time.
Yeah, I did write down that Roy and Lillian Disney tried to talk him out of it, and he was just like, nope. And like Hollywood kept calling it Disney's folly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he had to mortgage his house to finance it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this the... I mean, I know it was Disney's first, but was it the first feature-length 2D animated film? Because I'm inclined to say it is.
It was the first full-length cell animated film.
Yeah, okay, that's the clarification.
Also, hi, Ghost.
Hey, what's up, Ghost? Did you happen to catch the movie, or are you just listening?
I've been moderating your server for years, and you never told me you have a wife.
Yeah, I got yeah, bro.
Oh my God, he spoke to me.
And he's gone.
All right.
Alrighty then.
Life's mission complete.
Yeah. What a nice young man. Anyway, but yeah, it was the first cel-shaded feature-length animated film, basically.
So you guys must have been talking about the box office of Snow White when I was running in. Yeah, interesting.
No, it's cool stuff. So, I'm trying to think, how was Luke? Do you have any notes in there about like how it was received whenever it came out? Because I mean, obviously,
well, I
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also wrote down in my extensive research, he had to like get like a $250,000 loan halfway through the production just to finish it, and he showed it to like the in progress to the head of Bank of America, and apparently he just sat through it stone faced the whole time, and right at the end he just like turned to him and said, well, this thing's gonna make a hat full of money. And so yeah, like clearly, like people were very impressed when it came out of.
I'm imagining whenever he says that, though, he's just sitting. I imagine he looks exactly like Giga Chad from the Giga Chad memes, and he's just sitting there, like just flexing his jaw muscle the whole time. And then as soon as it gets done,
like an old dude with a cigar, like.
And then he gets done, like he takes his cigar out of his mouth, burns it out, stands up, and he's just like, "This is gonna make a hell of a lot of money." And then just the intro to the Giga Chad song starts playing as he walks out. I can see it. Yeah. Was there anything else historically that you wrote down for Snow White? Because
mostly just stuff about the production.
Mm-hmm. I know that Snow White they used a human model for a lot of her stuff.
They definitely used a lot of like live references back in the day,
which
and probably still now.
I mean, I have opinions on that, to be honest, because like, to at least in my whenever I don't know if we want to move to the opinions section quite yet, but I have some opinions on how that was executed in the film.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, well, there is definitely a stark contrast.
Yeah. One thing that I guess I guess the next part we should start talking about is or just like the production and how it was. I was genuinely surprised because it's been a long time since I've seen Snow White. I was genuinely surprised by how amateurish some of the animation was. Like, I mean, it's obviously very good, but you could tell it was a young studio, and I guess maybe that's just the eye that I have now, based on, like, the last year and a half.
For a first movie, though, it's really impressive.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But there were just, like, little 30s. Mistakes and things that I was noticing and being like, oh, yeah, that's something they missed. Oh, there they...
little bits with, like, birds. What? I saw that kind of stuff in, like, little moments with, like, birds and chipmunks where, like, the animation quality just kind of lagged for a second.
Yeah. Like, I noticed a particular frame, because I'm like the kind of person who always notices this, but there's like one frame where like Happy's eyebrow is skin color.
I was going to point out, whenever she's running in the woods, before the whole nightmare sequence, her dress, she's holding her dress, like up with one hand, as she's running, and there's a frame where clearly the animators didn't know how the dress worked, because it actually splits in half for a second, where she's still holding onto a piece of the dress, and then like it's complicated to talk about, but her dress kind of like splits in half for a second as she's running.
What the people came to see.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was also. I mean, my wife used to do ballet, and she was in the Snow White ballet, which is based on the Disney film. It's not, but I noticed how, the Renaissance films are based on, like the traditional Broadway musical, right? Like you have the "I Want" song and the I really felt like Snow White. It felt very ballet inspired.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just with the symbolism and the enhanced visuals, and then also how Snow White displays a lot of her emotions with her hands. Like doing different. Like I think she screams at one point, and then just like hits a traditional ballet pose of fear and things. So like all of that. I wonder if the model wasn't a dancer or something.
Yeah, I definitely noticed a lot of extravagant movement as she was, walking through the woods the first time. Like, just very, like, people do not walk that way. And there's no reason realistically she'd be wasting a lot of energy kind of like swaying around as she just walks from one point to another point in the middle of the forest.
I do want to reference a particular quote from Walt Disney. I wrote it down somewhere, but it was like the essence of the cartoon is to just like exaggerate and caricature life, not just to mimic it. So and that is just like a general principle. A lot just to. It is one of like the 12 principles of animation, just exaggeration.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because, like, looking back, it feels very much like just like a almost like an amateur theater production of Snow White, but just instead of like people, obviously just on a stage live acting it, like it's just a bunch of drawings that people spent ungodly amounts of time working on.
Yeah. I do want to mention also like they actually made like a little animation class for everyone to
Wow.
do this. Yeah, there's this guy Art Babbitt. This one animator he started teaching 7 colleagues like a workshop like in his garage or something, and just like they hired a model to draw from, and each week more and more animators kept coming, and like eventually Walt just moved it to the studio.
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of Walt, something that was really interesting is I don't know if you guys are gonna bring this up too, but I'm sitting down, I'm watching the film, the credits start, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, old movies used to have like they have credits on the front. I like front-ended credits. That's just I think they're classy, but
Yeah, they're cool.
Walt hits you with the message like special thanks to the animators who helped make this film possible, and I was like, yeah, that's the last time we're gonna see that kind of gratitude from Walt. Yep. there it is.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just like a very neat historical little, like Walt used to care.
Yeah, dang, that's crazy.
Well, eventually we'll talk a little bit about the party. The reason he didn't care anymore.
I also thought that also had something to do with that the 5-letter S word that that took place not a few movies down the line, but yeah, that might have something to do with it too.
Yeah, hey, it's Polides. Hey, what's up, man?
Same shit, different day,
How's it Leah doing?
I cannot think of a pun.
Did you happen to catch the Snow White film?
Yeah, it's huge. Like it's like a movie, but instead of like those cartoon shorts that play before the
Other movie. This is an actual movie.
It's just all that. It's incredible.
Yeah. But did you happen to catch it, or are you just here to listen?
No, I'm still at work.
All right, cool. Cool. All right, so we'll keep talking. So yeah, the where were we? Oh yeah, we were talking about Walt and the message at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which I think we got to the end of that. So production stuff. I think we mentioned like Snow White. My thoughts on how she was animated. Like they used the live model and all of that. I thought the cloth was really, really well done on her dress, and like that was probably the best thing from that. But at times it felt like I was watching one of who's the guy on YouTube who does like the he did the Grinch.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. It felt like whenever they rotoscope 2D animation on somebody, and it just like looks. Not that it looked necessarily bad, but whenever she was next to the dwarves, because the dwarves were
Joel Haver.
Yeah, exactly. That guy.
Yeah.
But the dwarves who were just done without a model looked much more fluid in the scenes that they were in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Literally, once you it's just Snow White and the Queen in her normal form look really, really weird and uncanny. But
Same
then
with the prince, yeah.
And the prince. I almost forgot because he's in 2 scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
The most forgettable Disney prince by far.
Yeah, I believe that I think that was like the trend of like the early like Disney princess movies. Like the princes like were very, very underdeveloped. They were just guy that shows up that she falls in love with.
Hey, that's not true. He's got one song. He's got that.
Yeah, he's got his song that he does where he's like, "Hey, babe, you look."
He's got verses of a song, basically. he takes over from Snow White singing, so he's just.
Does he have a name?
Man can't even have his own song. What the heck? Feminism out of control.
He's Prince, really capital P. Prince is his first name.
Or it's like the singer Prince. It's his station name, his title.
The prince formerly known as Prince.
You guys know I have the same birthday as Prince? I always tell people that.
Oh, dang.
Nice.
Yeah. if you were to know that thing, you'd probably admit it too. But yeah, no. But to be fair, does Snow White really even get a name? What kind of name is Snow White? I named my daughter Snow White.
Why is her name gotta be white? What the heck's up
Well,
with that?
the way the mirror describes her, he says like skin white as snow, hair black as ebony, lips red as a rose. It's like he's describing a vampire. I've seen like a meme of that.
He's just really into Twilight. The mirror is.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
Which, while we're talking about the prince, I think it's an interesting thing to bring up. Do you remember how like 3 years ago everybody was publishing articles about like Snow White is creepy, the prince is like 30 years old, and Snow White is 16? Do you remember all of that?
No.
No.
Okay, it
I
was
don't
like,
know how you get that.
it was like this
14?
whole thing where they were like, oh yeah, or it was like in internal Walt Disney, like they didn't have a source, but they were just like, yeah, Walt Disney apparently like something, they were trying to be like Disney evil type thing, but
I gotcha.
but if you actually, it's really interesting. The prince was always meant to be 18. There was never really anything that said otherwise, and so for some reason 3 years ago, out of like the thin ether, I don't know where they got this, they were just like, oh yeah, the prince is supposed to be 30, Disney bad, look how evil Snow White is, and it's like,
I mean, if you want to say Disney bad, there's plenty of other things.
yeah,
to bring up.
exactly.
Yeah. Even like, especially even like period piece like Disney, like Disney was bad then too, as opposed to now, as opposed to just now. I'm sure that there is stuff you could make an argument for that, but there's just some stuff that people want to, get they're looking for something to
Get carried away with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, oh my gosh, but yeah. To be fair though, even if that was the case, like it probably would also be period accurate. I mean, if it's a fairy tale based in the what do you think of the time period would be for Snow White? What seems to be the
I don't know. I know
Like
it was
medieval.
it was
somewhere.
Germanic, so
Yeah.
I don't really know anything else besides that.
I'm gonna say like 15 to 1600s would
Yeah.
be
Oh wait,
fair.
I think it'd be even earlier than that. Yeah.
Okay.
Seems
So,
to be
like-
leaning to like generic medieval age.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, not every 30-year-old guy married a 16-year-old. Like there's the benefit
I
of the
didn't
doubt. He
think
could have been
everyone.
18, but it would be period accurate that it was more
More of a gap
Yeah, more
would be
societally acceptable.
acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
the
like-
sort of thing I feel like getting into anyway.
I do want to add, like, there was
Yeah.
some like Romeo and Juliet inspiration for this, and that story deals with a society of very young parents.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, so in terms of the choices and stuff, we've kind of talked about the negatives with different things like it being amateur and some other stuff. I thought there were genuine moments where just some of the things were amateurish and stuff, but a lot of it was just gorgeous. Some of the backgrounds and everything. I didn't realize how pastel watercolory Snow White looked.
Yeah. It also helps create some great. I mean, that's how it usually is with a lot of cell animation work, but it's like it gives such a good delineation between what is, the background for the characters and what is the characters themselves.
Yeah. So, something else I found out was that like they had a version where like the queen was quote like fat and bratty, and the prince was like kind of like a clown archetype. I think they wanted to like shift the comedy to the dwarves specifically and make the rest a bit more
Oh
serious.
yeah, I saw about that. In fact, speaking of dwarves, did you know that they considered that the ones we got originally they were just selected from a list of potential names.
That was
I
something.
thought-
Right.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that before. That like those names were not in the original story.
Neither did I. No, I was expecting them to at least have something, but nope. That's a Disney invention.
Imagine what an easy and simple character development process that was, where they're like, okay, so we got this dude. We're naming him Dopey. How should he be characterized?
Oh boy, you want to hear some of these?
Oh yeah, yeah.
names?
So, some of these are interesting.
Oh God, I'm gonna leave my favorites for the end. So we got Jumpy, we got Dizzy, Kicky, Wheezy.
Wheezy, like my boy from Toy Story too.
Hey, maybe that must have been where they got it. I got
Maybe.
Nifty, I got Sniffy, which seems like a pretty, very adjacent to Sneezy. I got Swift, I got Lazy, Puffy, Stuffy, Shorty, Burpee,
Well,
and I think my favorites here. I've got Baldy, Tubby, and get this one, Deafy.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's just the ones that I noticed on the wiki page.
That's
I'm
what I
that
found too, yeah.
There might have been some. Who knows what else? Because I think they said there were like maybe 50 other potential name suggestions.
Oh, man.
Like there was just a huge list. So
Okay, but
I
imagine
wonder what
like
other words
Greasy.
they could have had.
Greasy the dwarf
Oh,
or
God.
Slimy the dwarf.
Sweaty.
Also, whenever she mentioned like I'll cook you guys food and stuff in the plot, and the dwarves all just immediately folded, I leaned over to my wife and I was like, average dwarf behavior.
Yeah.
Because
except for Grumpy, who is the Sigma dwarf of the bunch.
true.
Oh yeah, I wrote down like
zero
Grumpy's.
simp.
I did write down like Grumpy's the only one who like has an arc.
Yeah.
His arc is that he like learns to feel, or like.
Learns to be less of a misogynist towards Snow White.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Well,
Yeah.
Dopey kind of learned how to let the women you love, or it's like he learned how to. What's the best way to put this?
Dobie's arc.
Yeah, Dopey went from being a Sigma to being a Beta whenever he was like, oh yeah, Prince, you can just take this woman that I clearly love away from me. Poor guy.
I also want to point out Dopey never talks, but he does like a Tom and Jerry scream at one point.
He does,
I didn't
remember
notice that.
He uses his vocal cords, yeah.
Well, he can use his vocal cords. He just doesn't know how to speak.
Yeah.
Can you?
Well, according to Happy, he never tried.
I also like how Dopey. He's just like this person who clearly needs, like he needs help. He needs to be educated. And then they're like, yeah, we call this one dumb idiot. Yeah. Yeah, look at
We
him.
call him Zero because there's nothing going on in his stupid little head.
Yeah, it's about
Stanley Yelman.
that's about right.
But yeah, so let in terms of plot and stuff, I mean, it is very simple. It's a very simple plot, but one of the things that I really forgot was like, I mean, spoilers for a how old is it? Are we getting close to 100 years?
Close, yeah.
Yes, but like a 100-year-old film that you should have seen. But like whenever the queen dies and all that, like the frickin' vultures that followed her for a minute, like from the beginning of the day, and then we're just waiting around for her to die. Like, dude, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I thought it was like supposed to be like contrast because like snow is like followed by like like beautiful like little animals and bluebirds, and like the queen gets vultures because she's evil. But apparently, yeah, they were just kind of their emotion didn't change at all when she died.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought they were just
It
like
still is a contrast.
they were gonna be
though.
her goons or something, but like no.
I mean, yeah, it's like they are still a contrast because, like, Snow White's got her animal buddies who are always helping her out, and the only animal companions the queen got are the ones that want to eat her as soon as she's done.
Yeah.
I am curious. Obviously, like it's just like there's a thematic, through line there. But I'm also curious, like, did they originally follow her because she was going to poison Snow White, and so that they could feast on whoever she was going to kill, or they just want to follow her because she looked like she was going to drop at any minute because she was in her old hag disguise?
They just saw the writing on the wall. They knew someone was about to bite it.
They read the script.
I also, I want to point out something funny. All you guys are familiar with Schaefer on YouTube?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to find his letterbox review for this because I thought it was kind of funny.
Hey, also, guys, I'll be right back. My boy is going to bed, so I gotta give him good night kisses and everything. So carry on without me.
Yeah.
One for each of us, please.
Oh, you bet. You bet.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, in Shea Frillis's Letterbox review, he just wrote, "The Queen is so hung up on Snow White being prettier than her that she creates a potion to turn people ugly, then uses it on herself as a disguise to give her a
Well,
poison apple with, instead of just forcing her to drink the ugly potion."
the potion
Work
is a
smarter, not harder.
disguise. It's
Yeah,
presumably, reversible. That's why it's a
Yeah.
disguise. We
It
never
would
yeah.
be
find
funny.
out,
I
but of
think he was
course.
doing that as a bit.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think the
yeah.
review's a bit, but like,
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
funny though if she does that. It's like now I can change. She flips through the next page and it says disguise spell is permanent or something like that.
Ah, nuts.
Oh no!
No!
As long as I'm the only girl in the land,
yeah.
that's
It is
All
also
right, can we
funny
talk
that
about that? Like,
the subtext is here.
can we talk about like that like smash cut to like when she comes up to the window? And
Uh,
like when
that's
Snow's
very
done making the
close.
pie, and then it just cuts to the like witch in the window, like,
yeah,
"Hey."
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
she's definitely my favorite character design out of the movie is definitely the hag. Like again, like because we brought it up earlier, like Snow White and the prince and the queen when she's like it's the huntsman too. I keep forgetting the huntsman's in the movie.
Oh yeah, he's in, like,
Arguably,
yeah.
he's arguably one of the biggest MVPs in the movie because he doesn't want to murder an innocent
yeah,
child.
He murdered a pig, though. Pigs are okay.
yeah.
Well, again, 15, medieval times, right? They weren't vegans, unfortunately. They didn't have that. I don't know if there were any vegan societies before then. We're getting off topic. Because like again, those four characters, they're obviously very heavily like rotoscoped, and they're trying to make it look like like a fanciful illustration. I think some of the inspirations they had for their like illustrations like work were an English book illustrator by the name of Arthur Rackham, and then a Swedish painter and illustrator by the name of John Bauer, who, by the way, he died in a really unfortunate like boating accident. Yeah, like this was again back in like I think the 20s or 30s. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, this was a long time ago, but yeah, like once but obviously the dwarves are very. I noticed like Snow White, the Queen, Huntsman, and the Prince. They're all pretty like they seem very akin to that sort of style of just like kind of attempting to make it as like traditional beauty standards for the time. Like very just kind of regular portion. Then you got the dwarves who they always seem so like pudgy to me. Like you could just poke them and they just kind of squish a little bit.
Right. They almost have like a different like kind of physics that apply to their bodies.
Yeah, different consistency too. Just
proportionate humans.
Yeah, they're very they stand out a lot more because they're so much more cartoonish. And then you get the witch, who's she's got like her eyes are just enormous. Like compared to the queen, it's like they're just she's just staring crazy.
I mean, that's the funny thing is that maybe they didn't do it on purpose, but there's a clear divide between like the more cartoony, sillier, more innocent characters versus the much more human-like and serious ones. And part of the Queen's disguise isn't just looking like an old crone; it's looking like the exact same cartoony character Snow White's been hanging out with for the entire film. So I don't know if that was on purpose, but it's like could be a cute little thing to look into.
I also think it makes her look like a little more uncanny because she's got like again knowing what she was obviously because it's a disguise, but like seeing like the big super friendly like Disney eyes on this like old super old hag with this single snaggly tooth and all the wrinkles. It makes her look like the dwarves I think aren't always like perfect looking cartoon characters either, but like the crone I think she brings it into a little more like it's almost like it's a feature not a bug with her.
Yeah,
a little off-putting.
That was something I wrote down like as I was watching it because like Snow doesn't have like they hadn't nailed that like perfect Disney style yet, so she doesn't have like the big Disney princess eyes and like
yeah, that is a big thing. usually when representing her in like referential material, on Disney Channel or Ralph Breaks the Internet, for
Yeah, they
example.
like they updated her a lot.
Yeah, her design
Mhm.
gets a solid retouch.
Yeah, it would be honestly. I think it would have been funnier if in like something like Ralph Breaks the Internet or whatever, they just like all the other ones look pretty pretty standard, but then Snow White it's just a little off looking with like weird rotoscope movements and
Let's go full go full motion capture.
Yeah,
Like just make it look like a character from a Robert Zemeckis movie.
or a VR chat avatar.
nice.
Okay, quick tangent. Who is everyone's favorite Disney girl?
Mm.
That's really tough. I'm also one of the people that can't just pick a favorite. I usually like aspects of different ones.
Yep.
Ida and Esmeralda are the real ones. The ones that didn't show up in Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yeah.
Blessing in disguise, I guess.
I guess.
But I'd have to go with off the top of my head, who's the what's her name from the Atlantis movie?
Ida.
Kida, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Atlantis princess. Yeah,
Good choice.
She's got at least the dopest character design.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's Kida Kakash. Thank you very much.
Oh crap. Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be
Megara was always really great, I thought.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
Meg from Hercules.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
she's really fun too.
That's
The one that looks like has a diet consisting entirely of twigs.
nothing,
carrots.
yeah. A diet consisting entirely of air, yeah.
It's just the oh my gosh, I know the guy's name. He did a lot of. No, what I need to do is because I know his other work he's done.
What has he done?
It's
Tell us what he did.
artist.
What did he do?
So in addition to being like he did a lot of the character designs for Hercules, he also did the album art for Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oh, Scarface. Okay, Scarface. That's what you're talking about.
Thank you. Yeah, so I assume that's just part of his design, just like how those clouds have those like very distinct delineations for the swirls and.
Oh no, yeah.
And
all this more abstract designs of the gods themselves, probably the best part of the movie.
Oh yeah, like obviously Hades is a huge standout.
All right, we should probably get back on topic and save some of this for the Hercules one, but
we're just trying to save time until Max comes back at the moment.
Yeah.
I would say like some of my other favorite like more modern Disney girls, Rapunzel and Moana, I think are great.
Yes, Rapunzel for sure. Let's see. What are some other?
I'm trying to think what else we have to cover on Snow White anyway.
I wouldn't mind talking about the 9 old men's involvement. What I was able to find, in my brief amount of time. There's not a whole lot. Obviously, I think a lot. I could be looking for better sources for some of these too. Maybe a Wikipedia page, but they did have a lot of at least by this point in time, all of the 9 men were on board with Disney and either had uncredited assistant animator roles on Snow White. Is what I got for some of these people. Again, I don't know if that'd be best to save for when Max is back officially, or
There's always the music as well.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's another thing.
There was music.
How could you not notice? It's especially since like literally everything in that movie is like set to music. Like they even made sure like at a lot of points you set like the actions of the characters, and the sound effects therein, like every little like especially during the the hi ho introduction to the dwarves. My favorite one. Again, I don't know if that'd be better to say for when Max is back, because like there's so much there's so many good like little actions set to the music like just sync up.
Yeah, like it must have been insane.
I think I could have noticed a lot more of that, honestly, now that you say that. But I was definitely noticing some of it. calling
Yeah, it was like Disney's whole thing. Like the literal concept is kind of named after them, since they always call it Mickey Mousing whenever music is composed like
see.
that for film. Yeah,
Interesting.
since that was how they always handled it in the shorts as well before Snow White.
Well, music and motion, definitely do go really well together.
Yeah. Just trying to imagine like timing all the animation to match up with the music must have been killer. Like,
Yeah.
We got to have a
like-
really recent good
Especially
example of
then.
that too with that game that just came out, Hi-Fi Rush. Never really good example of that.
Huh. Haven't heard of it yet.
Well, it's sort of like this hack and slash rhythm game hybrid, and like a big thing it does is that to do more damage, you have to time your strikes with this consistent beat of the music in the background, and like it's you have a little like clicker at the bottom, but you also have a lot of environmental clues of like little thumps and stuff like that all around you, going at a consistent pace, and all the animations,
Okay.
all the characters, especially in the cutscenes, are timed to it as well.
Well,
There's
Christ,
one-
can you send the trailer of that to me?
I haven't seen this one, or not a whole lot of it, but I have seen another game. I think I saw it on a Moist Critical stream, if I'm being honest here. But it was it was like a heavy kind of like that, but instead of this like what looks like a very anime inspired one, it was like a Doom-esque like shoot 'em up, but you had to shoot in time with like the music of each level.
Wow.
I need to see what it was.
Wow, yeah, that
Is
sounds...
it? Did I find it? Is it Metal Hellsinger? Yes, this is it. I found this one too. Metal Hellsinger is the other one.
Huh.
So if you want something that's a little more,
Genre
a
match?
little edgier, we've got we got this one too. That's an awful link.
Oh,
Only rated teen?
Hmm.
Blood, use of tobacco, and violence.
Hi-Fi
Wow.
Rush. I'm definitely checking that
Violence.
thing out.
Also, hi guys, I am back. What are we talking
Hey.
about?
Yay!
Cool.
We want to
talking
save
about
a few
music and
things
Mickey
for-
Mousing.
Ah,
Yeah. Because I actually even wrote down some of the things that I really liked them setting the music to that I thought were pretty funny. So like they we were just bringing up how like they I can't imagine what they must have done to get, because some of this obviously has to be like some of the music has to be done before they animate,
Mhm.
but then there's also sound effects that they presumably we need to add in.
So
yeah.
like, a little bit, at least for like lip syncing, they use this like what they call an exposure sheet. Do you guys know about that?
Yeah. Do not know.
Yeah, so it's basically they just get out this like physical piece of paper and and they just have like the frame numbers on them, and they just have to like write in like what sound is on each frame to have like
Oh, wow.
mouths and actions match up. Yeah, like for like in school, like, they like showed us how to use it for like lip sync tests, and we eventually just like were able to put it into the software instead, which
Sick.
obviously saved a lot more time. But yeah.
For sure. That's cool.
All right, guys. I think we got about 10 minutes left. So,
Oh boy.
so closing thoughts on Snow White and everything. I'll go first really quick. I thought the movie was genuinely like it had some amateurish decisions, and it was pretty like it was. You could tell the studio was young, which there's nothing to fault them for with that. I mean, but and then it was also a very simple story. But I thought that the artistry in it and some of the choices were really nice. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly not the best of their catalog, but I really revisiting it really gave me a better appreciation for the film because
Yeah.
I imagined it being worse than it actually was.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
animation itself very much too. Like, geez, animation was young, but this is one of the first like golden nuggets to enter the broad public spectrum. Yeah, so it teaches us a lot about where we've come with animation too.
Yeah. I also want to say there's like a ton of shots where they just have like a ton of like all those animal characters just moving around. That was just like crazy to see, and it's just a scene where they all like jump onto the deer's backs and just like how complex that must have been to animate.
One thing that
Yeah,
threw
that must have been on Erica Larson's work, one of the Alt 9 men. He was specifically credited for doing some of the dwarves on the deer. So
one of the things that threw me was like, I don't know if it was specific, but like specifically the kitchen table at one point, the animals go to clean it up in the whole cleaning scene, and I'm sitting there and I looked at the plates and stuff on the table and I was like, okay, they all look like they're part of the background. They look good enough to be in the background. You know how sometimes cell animation you can tell what's going to move and what's not.
There was there was one of those in this movie, like when the rocks fall.
Yeah,
beneath the queen and she dies. You can tell.
I got
like,
more with like the witch's boat when she's like in her dungeon. I think that was like the most standout moment to me whenever that stuck out.
But like on the table though, I couldn't tell which dishes were gonna be moved or not. It was that good, and then they started to move because I assumed it was gonna cut before they moved because they looked that good, and then they started moving, and I literally hit the Redditor Pog emote. I was like, what? Yeah, that was a good moment.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm hyped for. I guess I say I'm hyped to see what Pinocchio brings. So I guess
that is an interesting one. I watched that recently.
yeah. Oh, another one I think is the skeleton that she kicks aside. Like that was a pretty great bit of animation there too.
Yeah, and just very very humorous and really like brought about who she was as a character too.
Yeah, totally. One of the.
I want to speak. Speaking of like the personalities a little bit, like when Snow gets to the dwarf's house and like her first instinct is to clean it up because she was like raised as a maid.
Yeah, I know, right? And also to curry favor with them because it's like, I hope they let me just stay here. So I mean, I'll clean the place up, and hopefully, they're like simpatico.
Yeah, I will say I did spend like the better part of a summer one time as like a housekeeper for condos, and that instinct does stay with you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean the other thing with that scene too is I for some reason like just with the dialogue that's been around that scene, I remembered it as being more of a like anti-feminist narrative or something like that, but really it was more just like, hey, I need to make myself useful to whoever these people are as quickly as possible. And
also she clearly likes doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So
got some rent to pay.
But yeah, it didn't really feel like a male-female thing. It felt more like a dude. I just like this is the quickest
way. Also,
way.
the fact that Grumpy's a huge sexist at first.
Married women.
See, when I was more
that he has a lesson to learn there.
He's
so
Grumpy the incel.
Yeah. I did when Snow like kisses Grumpy and he gets all like melty when he walks away. Like what I wrote down was, and then Grumpy's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
He's like the first incarnation of he's like the archetype that Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender is based off of.
Yeah. You gotta love my boy Grumpy.
Yeah.
I was just a little tickled by this song iconography too, because they really push like what was it, one song as like the big number of the film all over the place. But that's not the one that's really remembered nowadays. The only one that really has any sort of staying power in pop culture is the Goofy Dwarf song. I don't know, I just thought that was funny.
Which I mean, that song goes so hard though.
Oh yeah, I was also quickly. I love like there's some, especially in that's one of my favorite instances where they really seriously set like a lot of actions to the music. Like there's the one where Doc is hitting the gem with the hammer and it's doing that, and then there's the clock that's that each tick is is set to the tone. My favorite though is at the beginning of that scene before the hi ho, as they're doing like their dig a little bit. It's the bit where one of them's trying to like swat a fly and they hit the deer and the deer just kicks the back of the cart.
To
the beat, which I thought that was amusing.
Also,
everything watching is. Oh, sorry.
I loved the visual gag of them taking all of these diamonds and just throwing them in a room and then just like putting the key next. Like they have no use for them.
They gotta have a hobby.
What are you gonna say?
Like Dopey like forgets to let go of the bag he's throwing in.
The funny thing too is that something about like rewatching this also made me realize just how much Puss in Boots, like the Last Wish, like isn't just like referencing like fairy tales for the sake of it. It takes a lot from a lot of like the older films altogether.
yeah.
Not just with with the Mickey Mousing. Like a lot of it was brought back in full force during the action sequences. I mean, that like sync up with the music. But also you have like entire sequences, like the whole scene in the forest where like Puss is seeing the wolf everywhere. That's just taken verbatim from the sequence in this film.
Yeah, like, and it's so weird because like I realize now that it's supposed to be like, Snow White is seeing things. Like she's freaked out so that she's basically, if not hallucinating, just like, she's seeing things. But when I was a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, why is there just this evil forest right next to where they live that she's going through? But yeah, you can.
It's called adrenaline, son.
Yeah, she sees the logs as alligators. Like, there's some really that's also a really good standout scene, I think, in the movie because it's kind of, we're kind of locked in near the castle for a while, but then once we go there's a lot of really good animation with each of the trees. And my favorite are probably when she falls into the water and she sees the logs as like alligators.
Yeah,
For sure. He's crossed the threshold into this strange world.
Nuts! I fell into Florida.
it happens. It's a regular Wednesday for me.
Yeah. Ooh, a Disney movie set in Florida.
Isn't that
Florida Man?
I feel like there's one that you could jokingly say was. I'm trying to think of like the most wacko Disney film. Like, oh yeah, that one's set in Florida.
Song of the South? I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh Lord.
Well,
That's
I,
one more Georgia.
The mind is Princess and the Frog.
I still
I think
need
that's in,
That's
like,
New Orleans. That's
in New Orleans,
down
yeah,
here,
the
baby.
bayou.
For sure. That's definitely a different thing, but
Closest we're gonna get for a while.
closest we're
Yeah.
getting. Yeah.
And it's quite a few movies down the line.
Indeed.
Yeah, now Song of the South. That was made. That was like made pre-Snow. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It was after. Definitely after.
I'm trying to think. Is that going to be on our list? Because
I'd be fine with skipping that.
Yeah, Song of the South was a decade after this in 1946, but it's like it's got more. I mean, we should probably like just have a whole night dedicated to like live action animated hybrids and just have that be a theme for a bit with like Song of the South alongside something like Roger Rabbit or
Mary Poppins.
Mr. Limpets. We're bringing that back.
I mean, I
Wait,
haven't
is that the one
seen
with Don
Song of the
Knotts?
South, but it's just like just for the sake of the history of animation, I think it's very important to the Disney brand and everything. I mean, like I get it that they're trying to step away from it now, but in terms of just like history, I get that like it's got some stuff in it and some different things, but like
You can't just go over all the pretty bits in a.
yeah,
so you
exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta go through the unfortunate stuff too.
But yeah, we'll see if we want to actually cover, because like that's a good point. Maybe just having one night be like hybrids and stuff. But who knows? We'll burn that bridge when we die on it. So
We'll get around to it at the same time we get around to the unsightly Warner Brothers parody of Snow White. Oh boy.
oh boy. But okay, guys. I think it sounds like we've kind of reached a conclusion here. So I think we're gonna call it. But thank you everybody for tuning in here and whenever we upload this on all of our streaming platforms. So thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we will be back next week where we will be talking about. Where we'll be talking about Pinocchio. So,
we want to plug anything real quick, or
yeah, I mean, check out our YouTube channels, check out our stuff. We just recently uploaded the Lurla interview. She's our wonderful publicity manager, and she recently got interviewed by Aiden, so that's out there. And we are currently working on the audio drama for Tales of the Mangai Chapter 2. We're basically ready for release. There's just a little bit of polish that we need here and there. So get hyped. And we'll see you guys hopefully next week. So Oh yeah, and if you see this in time and you feel like joining in on the conversation, you can just hop on our Discord, and we're planning on doing this. We're planning on meeting every Saturday and just kind of talking about the film we watched that week for an hour and a half. So
Could also if we want to, we could just all get together and like record ourselves like watching it in commentary and just put that on Patreon or something.
yeah, there are a lot of different options. So let us know what you think and what you want. Obviously, this is going to be a developing program, so we're definitely open to feedback on this. So. All right. Thank you, everybody, and say bye, everybody.
Check out the
Later.
Patreon merch. Validation for animation. Catch you later.
See ya.